Lily wasn't exactly thrilled when her Grandma Rose called. It wasn't that she didn't love her grandma. She did fiercely. But Grandma Rose, bless her heart, had a way of making every phone call sound like a major life event. Today's major life event was about an old desk. Lily Bug, Grandma Rose's voice crackled over the phone, sounding a little tired. Your Great-Aunt Mae passed away last week. Bless her soul. You remember Mae, don't you? Always had a sweet tea wait Aunt Mae. Quiet lady, lived way out in the country, smelling faintly of lavender and old books. Yeah, Grandma, I remember her. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, thank you, Sweet Pea. She left a few things to family, and she specifically mentioned, you said you'd appreciate it. There was a pause, a dramatic inhale that Lily knew meant something was coming. She left you Elvis's desk. Lily blinked. Elvis who? Then it hit her. You mean the Elvis? Elvis Presley? That's the one, honey, Grandma Rose chuckled, a dry, raspy sound. Mae was Elvis's second cousin, you know. They were close growing up well before everything. He spent a lot of time at her place in the early days. That desk was in his bedroom there, apparently where he wrote some of his first songs. Lily groaned inwardly. She was 17 on the cusp of senior year, drowning in college applications and trying to figure out her own life. The last thing she needed was some dusty ancient piece of furniture belonging to a dead rock star. Her family had always been low-key about their distant connection to the king, probably because they were tired of people asking for stories or free concert tickets. But still it was always there, this shadow of fame that felt both distant and, frankly, a little annoying. A desk? Lily asked, trying to sound enthusiastic and failing. Really? What kind of desk? Just an old wooden one, I guess, Grandma Rose said, sensing Lily's lack of excitement. It's been in storage at Mae's place for ages. Probably needs a good clean, but it's got history, Lilybug. Real history. Right history. Lily pictured a dark, heavy monstrosity probably covered in scratches and smelling of mothballs. Her room, with its bright posters and meninist aesthetic, definitely did not need a relic from the 1950s. So, what am I supposed to do with it? Well, it's yours now, Grandma Rose said, a hint of steel in her voice. Sentimental. Make wanted you to have it. Maybe you can write your college essays on it, or just keep it. It's family, Lily sighed. Family obligations. Her grandma was probably gesture. Mae didn't have much, so giving away something connected to the famous branch of the family tree was probably a big deal for her. Okay, Grandma, I'll take it. How do I get it? Being delivered next week, Grandma Rose informed her. Then her voice softened. Lily, this isn't just any old desk Mae was very particular about it. She said it saw a lot, knew a lot. She always had a special twinkle in her eye when she mentioned it. Lily mumbled something non-committal and hung up feeling a familiar mix of annoyance and mild curiosity. Elvis Presley's desk, it sounded like something out of a cheesy reality show. She imagined a bunch of tourists trying to buy it, or some antique dealer trying to rip her off. She decided then and there that it would probably end up in the garage gathering more dust. A week later, a beat-up pickup truck pulled up to her house. Two burly men, looking like they'd seen too many heavy objects in their lives, grunted as they wrestled a dark, imposing piece of furniture out of the back. It was bigger than Lily had imagined. A solid oak desk, dark with age, with carved legs, and what looked like tarnished brass handles. It wasn't quite the monstrosity she'd pictured, but it definitely wasn't minimalist. It looked like it belonged in a grand old library, not her small sunlit bedroom. Where do you want it, miss? One of the men asked, wiping his brow. Just in the living room for now, I guess, Lily said, stepping back to let them maneuver it through the front door. It seemed to suck the light out of the room, standing there like a somber, silent sentinel. It had a strange presence, she had to admit, a quiet dignity. Or maybe that was just her imagination working overtime because of the whole Evis thing once they left. Lily cautiously approached. The wood was deeply grained, worn smooth in places, where hands had rested over decades. She ran her fingers over the cool, dark surface. It felt old. Not just dusty old, but ancient old. As if it held secrets in its very fibers. There was a faint, almost imperceptible scent of something sweet, like old paper, and something else, something painful-like. She was cut out for binge-watching Netflix and stressing about calculus. Still, her grandma's words echoed in her head. It saw a lot, knew a lot, and the way May had spoken about it with that special twinkle. It wasn't just old junk. It was a connection to a past she hadn't known much about. A different side of her family, a side that existed before the flashing lights and screaming fans. For a moment, Lily felt a flicker of something she hadn't expected. Curiosity. Maybe it wasn't so bad after all. Maybe it was just a really, really old desk. She decided to give it a proper cleaning tomorrow. For now it could sit there, a silent, imposing guest in her living room, waiting. Little did she know this dusty piece of history was about to change her life in ways she could never have imagined. The next morning, Lily woke up feeling surprisingly energized. The desk looming in the living room seemed to call to her, not with any grand dramatic voice, but with a quiet challenge. It was waiting, armed with a bucket of soapy water, a stack of old towels, and a bottle of wood polish. Lily attacked the desk. The dust of decades had settled deep into its crevices. As she wiped, the dark wood began to reveal a rich, warm gleam beneath the grime. The brass handles, once dull and tarnished, started to shine with a gentle rub. She worked systematically, starting with the top surface. It was smooth, worn in the center, where an arm would have rested, perhaps a hand gripping a pen. She imagined young Elvis, before the fame, sitting here scribbling lyrics, dreaming dreams. It was a strange thought, picturing the iconic figure as a regular guy leaning on this very desk. Then she moved to the drawers. There were 3 on each side, flanking a central shallow drawer. The outer ones were deep, solid. She pulled them out one by one, cleaning the insides, running her hand along the bottom and sides, just to make sure nothing was stuck or hidden empty, just like she expected. As she worked, she noticed something odd about the craftsmanship. This wasn't some mass-produced piece. The joints were dovetailed perfectly, the wood expertly planed, and there were intricate, almost hidden carvings along the edges of the top, like tiny vines twining. Someone had put a lot of care into building this desk. She got to the central shallow drawer. It was stiff, protesting loudly as she tugged. "Come on, you old thing," she muttered, bracing her foot against the desk and pulling harder. With a final groan, it slid out. This drawer was shallower than the others, designed perhaps for pens, paper, or small trinkets. As she wiped down the inside of the central drawer, her fingers brushed against something, not a loose bottom, but a very subtle seam. It was almost invisible, running along the back edge of the drawer, but slightly raised, as if a thin piece of wood had been inserted. She pressed it, but nothing happened. She ran her finger along it again, feeling for a switch or a button. Nothing. "What is this?" she wondered aloud. It wasn't a flaw in the wood. It was too precise, too deliberate. She leaned closer, examining the desk's interior. The back panel of the desk, visible through the empty central drawer space, seemed unusually thick, and there was a faint line barely discernible running vertically down the center. Lily's curiosity, which had only been a flicker before, now flared into a small flame. Her grandma's words about Meg's special twinkle and the desk knowing a lot came back to her. Could this be it? A secret compartment. It sounded too much like a storybook, but the evidence was right there. She spent the next hour prodding, pushing, and feeling every inch of the central drawer. And the space behind it. She tried to remember if she'd ever seen a secret drawer mechanism. She tried pulling the drawer out completely and looking underneath, but there was nothing. The desk was a solid block of oak. Frustration began to set in. Her fingers were getting sore, and the dust, though mostly gone, still managed to get everywhere. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, standing up and stretching her back. "It's just an old desk. There's no secret compartment." I'm imagining things. But she couldn't shake the feeling that faint line on the back panel. It was too intentional. She walked around the desk, looking at it from every angle as if a different perspective would reveal the hidden trick. She even tried knocking on various parts of the wood, listening for a hollow sound. Nothing. Finally, exasperated, she sat down in front of the central drawer. Again, she stared at the faint seam. What if it wasn't a push? What if it was a slide or a twist? She carefully slid her finger along the seam again, applying gentle pressure. This time, trying to push inward as she slid it. Nothing, she sighed. Maybe she was just being silly. This was a normal old desk. As she was about to give up, her hand, still resting inside the central drawer, accidentally brushed against the underside of the desk's main tabletop, right above the drawer opening. Her finger caught on something small, almost imperceptible. It felt like a tiny, smooth knob, or perhaps a button, tucked away in the shadows, almost flush with the wood. It was so well hidden. She had to really feel for it. With a surge of renewed hope, she pressed. She almost missed it. And then slowly, silently, the entire back panel of the central drawer compartment began to slide inward and then pivot, revealing a dark, shallow space behind it. Lily gasped. She pulled her hand back, staring at the opening. It was real, a secret compartment. Her heart started to pound. All those historical movies, all those fictional mysteries. And here she was, staring at one herself. What could possibly be inside? Her mind raced through all the possibilities. Old letters, forgotten jewelry, a hidden will, maybe even a pile of Elvis's old love notes. Cautiously, she reached her hand into the newly revealed space. It was shallow, maybe 6 inches deep, and about as wide as the central drawer. Her fingers brushed against something soft and leathery, then something rigid and rolled up. Her breath hitched. This was it. The unexpected was about to be revealed. She pulled out the first item. It was a worn, dark leather-bound journal, its pages thick with age. It looked like it had been handled often, its cover softened by countless touches. Beneath it, she felt a thick roll of paper tied with a faded ribbon. And finally, at the very bottom, a small, rectangular object. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled out the other items. The rolled paper was heavy, tightly bound. The small object was a faded, sepia-tone photograph, tucked into a small, clear sleeve. Lily laid them carefully on the polished desk surface. The journal, the rolled papers, the photograph. Each item hummed with an unspoken story. She looked at the desk no longer, just a piece of furniture, but a silent witness to a hidden life. She knew with a certainty that settled deep in her bones that whatever was inside this compartment was not what anyone expected from Elvis Presley. Lily stared at the contents of the secret compartment, her heart thumping a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The worn leather journal, the tightly rolled bundle of papers, and the small, faded photograph lay before her on the polished surface of the desk. The air in the room seemed to hum with anticipation. It was old, clearly from the 1950s or early 60s, a grainy sepia-toned image. It showed a patch of land, not a grand estate, not a sprawling mansion, but a simple open field. In the foreground, a few scattered trees looking young and slender. In the background, rolling hills under a wide open sky. It looked peaceful, unassuming. There were no people in the photo, no famous landmarks, just land. It was utterly ordinary, yet Lily found herself staring at it, trying to decipher its meaning. Why would Elvis keep a photograph of an empty field hidden away? It didn't make any sense. Next, she picked up the journal. Its leather cover was soft, almost buttery, worn smooth by years of handling. There were no titles, no fancy embellishments, just plain dark leather. She ran her fingers over the cover, feeling the slight indentations where it had been pressed against other objects. For a long time, taking a deep breath, Lily carefully opened the journal. Pages were thick and yellowed with age, but the ink was still surprisingly dark and clear. It was handwriting distinctly masculine, with a strong, confident flow. Her eyes immediately recognized the signature on the first page, scrawled in the familiar, distinctive style, Elvis Presley. Lily felt a jolt. This was real. This was his. Not just his desk, but his personal thoughts kept secret from the world. Sometimes I wonder if it's real. If I'm real. They see the hair, the clothes, hear the songs. They don't see me. Or maybe they don't want to. I get tired of the glare, the constant asking, the constant wanting. How do you stay grounded when you're flying so high? You can't even see the earth anymore. I keep thinking about that place, that little stretch of land outside Memphis. Mae's uncle owns it. He said he'd consider selling. Said it ain't much good for crops. But I see something else. I see possibility. Lily paused, looking back at the photograph of the empty field. It clicked. This was the land. The journal wasn't about his music or his fame or his relationships. It was about something deeply personal, something hidden. She continued reading, flipping through a few more pages. The entries weren't daily, sometimes weeks or even months apart, but each one was a window into a part of Elvis she'd never known existed. He wrote about the simple things he missed. Fishing quiet nights, the smell of fresh-cut grass. He wrote about feeling overwhelmed by his fame, about the loneliness that came with being constantly surrounded. And threaded through it all was this recurring dream, this vision for that place. March 22nd, 1958. The Army. Another chapter. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise, a chance to breathe. The thing. To remember who I am when the spotlights ain't on me. I'm sketching ideas for the land in my head, not a Graceland II. Something different. Something for the kids. The ones who don't have a voice yet. The ones who are scared or lost or just need a quiet place to be themselves. Mama always said, every child deserves a safe haven. She'd like this idea. Lily's eyes widened. This wasn't the Elvis of flashy jumpsuits and swiveling hips. This was a deeper, more thoughtful Elvis. She put the journal down, her hands shaking slightly. This was profound. This was a secret, private dream. This was the true, unexpected. Her attention shifted to the last item. The rolled-up papers tied with a faded blue ribbon. Carefully, Lily untied the bow, the ribbon almost crumbling at her touch. She unrolled the papers, laying them flat on the desk. They were large, several sheets taped together, revealing a surprisingly professional-looking set of architectural blueprints. They weren't just rough sketches. They were detailed designs complete with measurements and labels. Title, elegantly drawn in bold letters at the top, read T.H.E. Havenwood Project. Below it, in a slightly smaller, more personal script, was a subheading, a place where every child finds their song. Lily's breath hitched. Havenswood. A song? This was it. The blueprints detailed a complex of small, interconnected buildings. There was a main lodge with a large open common area, cozy bedrooms, and a big kitchen. There were smaller cabins labeled Art Studio, Music Room, Library, and Nature Lab. Plans also included an outdoor amphitheater, a sprawling garden, walking trails, and even a small, peaceful pond. And on the margins, in Elvis's familiar handwriting, were notes. Lots of notes. Must have big windows. Light is important. No fancy stuff. Just comfort and peace. Kids need space to run to dream. Not just quiet, but freedom. Music room needs a good piano, not just guitars, maybe some drums. Let them make noise. The library should have a fireplace and comfortable chairs. Every child needs a good story. The garden, teach them how to grow things, how to make life happen. This isn't a school for grades. It's a school for living, for healing. Lily felt a lump form in her throat. This was so much more than a collection of old papers. This was a dream, a full, vivid, beautifully imagined dream hidden away for decades. This was an Elvis Presley she had never ever heard about. Not the flashy performer, not the troubled icon, but a man with a profound, compassionate vision for children. She looked from the blueprints to the journal, then to the photograph of the empty land. He hadn't just thought about it. He had planned it. He had meticulously designed it. This was a passion project. A sense of awe settled over Lily. This was an incredible secret. The unexpected wasn't just what was inside, but the entire scope of Elvis's hidden compassion and vision. It changed everything she thought she knew about him. And now, she was holding that secret in her hands. Lily sat mesmerized by the blueprints for the Havenwood project, but it was the journal that truly called to her now. She carefully picked it up again, feeling the weight of it, the history contained within its pages. This wasn't just a collection of designs. It was a glimpse into the soul of a man. She started from the beginning. Again, taking her time, reading each entry, slowly letting the words resonate. The early entries from 1957 and 1958 detailed his growing discomfort with the unrelenting demands of fame. He wrote about the isolation, the feeling of being a product rather than a person. April 10th, 1957, I was in a small town today. Driving through, saw some kids, like the world was their oyster. Something about their freedom, their pure joy, it stuck with me, made me think of my own childhood, simpler times, before the noise, before the obligations. This place I'm dreaming of, it needs to be like that. A place where kids can just be kids. No judgments, no expectations, just space to breathe and laugh and maybe, just maybe, heal from whatever the world's thrown at them. Mama always said the most important thing you can give a child is safety and love and a good imagination. Lily felt a warmth spread through her chest. This wasn't the Elvis the documentary showed, the one who bought expensive cars and had legions of fans. This was a man with a deep, almost spiritual yearning for something more meaningful. He wrote about his mother Gladys frequently, for the feeling it gives me, like a quiet, strong forest sheltering. It needs to be a place of discovery, not just for kids who need healing, but for kids who need to find their own path. A place to explore music, art, nature. A place where they can learn to trust themselves. He detailed ideas for lessons, teaching basic carpentry, growing vegetables, writing songs, telling stories, even stargazing. It wasn't about formal education. It was about nurturing the whole child. He imagined a place where older kids could mentor younger ones, where everyone had a voice. February 12, 1960, back home. It's good to be back, but the machine is waiting. So many plans, so many songs. Colonel Parker is already talking about the next 5 years. How do I make time for Havenwood? How do I explain it to them? They see numbers, I see souls. They see profit, I see peace. This entry resonated with a pang in Lily's chest. She understood the conflict. The demands of fame versus a deeply personal, compassionate dream. It painted a picture of Elvis not as a demanding superstar, but as a man struggling to balance his public persona with his private convictions. He wrote about his frustrations, the feeling that his dream was being constantly pushed aside by the relentless momentum of his career. It feels like a piece of my heart is already there, but the schedule is suffocating, every moment planned, every dollar accounted for. How do you build a dream when you're always performing someone else's? Lily felt a profound sadness reading this. The dream was so vivid, so pure, and yet it remained a secret confined to these pages, to these blueprints. She could sense his yearning, his quiet desperation. The entries continued through the 60s, though they became less frequent. Life became more complicated. His health started to decline and the demands on him intensified. The optimism in his writing slowly, subtly gave way to weariness. Yet the dream of Havenwood never truly faded. He'd Havenwood jot down a new idea for a building, a different type of plant for the garden, or a new activity for the children. The world is changing. I'm changing. The music business ain't what it used to be. Sometimes I just want to walk away from it all. Go to Havenwood, but it's not built. And I don't know if I'll ever have the peace, the time, the strength to build it. Maybe it was always just a dream, a secret place in my head. But it feels so real sometimes, so important. The last entry was dated July 15th. July 15th. Nasta Whisper. July 15th. 1977. It wasn't just a record of a dream. It was a testament to a hidden life, a hidden heart. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, had carried this profound, selfless vision with him for decades, nurturing it in secret, even as his public life spiraled. He hadn't wanted fame or money or adoration. He had simply wanted a place for children to be safe, to be free, to find their own song. The unexpected part wasn't just the existence of the secret compartment or the plans, but the depth of the compassion and vulnerability revealed in the journal. It transformed Elvis from a larger-than-life figure into a very human being, someone with unfulfilled dreams and a quiet, yearning heart. And now Lily, a random teenager, held the key to that secret. She felt a profound sense of responsibility settle over her, heavy, but also strangely empowering. After reading the journal, Lily returned to the blueprints for the Havenwood project with a new understanding, a new reverence. They were no longer just technical drawings. They were the physical manifestation of Elvis's deepest, most cherished dream. She spread them out again on the desk, smoothing the creases with gentle hands. The main building, labeled the Welcome Lodge, was designed to be the heart of Havenwood. His notes emphasized a large, open, common room with a massive stone fireplace, comfortable couches, and an abundance of natural light. Needs to feel like coming home, even if they ain't got a home. One note read, warmth, light, safety. The sleeping quarters were not grand, but practical and cozy. Small, private rooms, each with a window looking out onto nature. Every child deserves their own space, their own quiet corner. He'd written, a place to be alone with their thoughts, or to invite a friend. It struck Lily that this was something he likely hadn't experienced much himself, constantly surrounded by people. Then there were the specialized cabins. The art nook had large windows, even skylights, and detailed sections for easels, claywork, and a darkroom for photography. Creativity is the purest form of hope, a note said, let them paint their future. The Music Meadow, a beautiful name, Lily thought, had a central stage. Instruments marked out on the plan, a grand piano, drums, various guitars, even what looked like a banjo. Every heart has a rhythm. Help them find theirs. Elvis had scrawled next to a drawing of a drum set. Lily, who had always loved music but felt intimidated by formal lessons, suddenly felt a connection to this part of his vision. The Story Tree Library was particularly enchanting. The blueprints showed a multi-level space built around a central imagined tree, cozy reading nooks, shelves bursting with books, and a special section dedicated to oral storytelling. Stories heal. Stories teach. Stories connect us. One note insisted, the spoken word is a powerful magic. And then, outside the canvas plan, the discovery trails, winding through natural landscape. A healing garden with benches and quiet spaces for reflection planted with native flowers and herbs. An outdoor amphitheater carved into a gentle slope, clearly meant for performances, campfire stories, and communal gatherings. Under the stars, nature is the first teacher. He'd written, Lily noticed little details. A ramp system for accessibility, a small infirmary, a quiet meditation space tucked away near the pond. Every aspect of the design spoke of immense thoughtfulness and profound empathy. This wasn't just a simple children's home, it was a holistic sanctuary for growth, healing, and discovery. She imagined the children who would come here, kids who might have been through tough times, kids who needed a place to feel safe and loved, kids who had a spark but no one to fan its flame. Elvis had seen them even in the abstract and poured his heart into creating a space just for them. Lily found herself tracing the lines of the blueprints, feeling a strange mix of wonder and sadness. Wonder at the purity and depth of his vision, and sadness that it had never come to be. He had spent decades nurturing this dream, only for it to remain hidden in a secret compartment. This place has to be built with love, not just bricks and mortar. A note near the main entrance read, "The spirit of kindness must live in every corner." It was a powerful reminder that beyond the fame, the glitz, and the tragedy, Elvis Presley was a man with a deeply compassionate soul. He wanted to use his blessings, not just for himself, but to create something enduring and good for those who needed it most. He spoke of children having dignity, a sense of belonging, and the freedom to explore their unique talents. Lily noticed a section marked, "Future Expansion Ideas." There were concepts for a small farm, a pottery studio, even a swimming pool that looked like a natural pond. His dream wasn't static. It was evolving, growing, always reaching for more. She looked at the faded photograph of the empty land again, then back at the detailed blueprints. The discrepancy was stark. One was a blank canvas, the other a vibrant, bustling vision. Gap between the dream and reality felt immense, almost heartbreaking. Why had it never happened? The journal hinted at his struggle with time and the pressures of his career. But was there more? Had he ever shown these to anyone? Had anyone else ever known about Havenwood? The secrecy of the compartment suggested not. It felt like a sacred trust given only to this desk, and now to her, Lily felt a profound shift within her. Before this discovery, Elvis was a historical figure, a distant relative, a name on a museum exhibit. Now he felt like a person. A real complex person with a tender heart and a secret dream that resonated deeply within her own growing sense of purpose. She had always felt a little lost, unsure of what she wanted to do with her life. College was looming, but no particular path truly excited her. She dabbled in art, enjoyed helping out at her local community center, but nothing had truly sparked a fire. Now, holding these blueprints, reading his words, she felt a flicker, a warmth, a sense of direction she hadn't experienced before. The unexpected discovery wasn't just a historical packet. It was a living, breathing idea that was now stirring to life within her. Elvis's dream, dormant for decades, was suddenly in her hands, and she felt an undeniable pull to understand why it had remained unfulfilled, and what, if anything, could be done about it now. The desk, once just a dusty piece of inheritance, had become a portal to a profound revelation and the beginning of a new journey for Lily herself. The next few days were a blur for Lily. Schoolwork, friends, everything else faded into the background. Her mind was consumed by Havenwood. She spent hours poring over the journal and blueprints, cross-referencing dates, trying to piece together the narrative of this hidden dream. Her first thought was to search for any public mention of the project. She used every search engine, every keyword she could think of. Elvis Presley Children's Sanctuary, Elvis Charity School, Havenwood Project, Elvis Land Acquisition, Memphis. Page after page of results popped up. Graceland tours, articles about his cars, his movies, his music, his generosity to friends and family. But not a single whisper of Havenwood. Not one. It was almost unsettling how thoroughly it had been kept secret. This wasn't just an unfulfilled idea. It was a deeply personal, meticulously planned venture that no one in his public life seemed to know about. The only clues were the vague mentions in his journal about purchasing land. She searched property records in the Memphis area for land acquisitions by Elvis Presley during the periods mentioned in the journal, particularly in the rural areas outside the city. It was a long shot, but she had to try. Finally, after hours of digging through digitized archives and old real estate listings, she found a small, obscure record from 1959. Elvis Presley, through a shell company, had indeed purchased a modest plot of undeveloped land outside Memphis, matching the general description and approximate acreage from the photograph. It was then sold again in 1978, a year after his death, likely as part of his estate liquidation. The land was still undeveloped, likely privately owned, now a silent witness to a forgotten dream. This discovery solidified it. Havenwood wasn't just a fantasy, it was a real tangible plan that Elvis had taken concrete steps to initiate. He'd bought the land, he'd invested in it. Not just his heart, but his resources. Lily returned to the journal, looking for reasons why the project had stalled. The journal entries frequently lamented the lack of time, the overwhelming demands of his career, and the constant presence. August 10, 1965. Colonel says, "I need to focus." Nantine says, "I need to focus on the films." Another, compartment. Another says, "The next dollar." He doesn't understand. I try to talk about Havenwood, about what it could mean, but he just smiles that fixed smile and changes the subject. Says it's a distraction. Says I need to focus on the brand. The brand. This isn't a brand. This is a calling. It became clear that Parker, notorious for his tight control over Elvis's life and finances, was a significant barrier. He saw Elvis as an asset to be managed, not a person with personal aspirations beyond entertainment. Any venture that didn't directly contribute to the Elvis brand or his financial interests would have been dismissed or actively discouraged. Beyond Parker, there was also Elvis's own growing exhaustion and health issues, particularly in the later entries. The pain, the sleepless nights, the increasing reliance on medication, all would have chipped away at his ability to pursue such an ambitious project. He needed energy, focus, and legal freedom, all of which were in short supply. January 5th, 1975. Feel so tired, been looking at the blueprints. Again, they're still so real in my head, but my body, it just hurts. How can I build a sanctuary for others when I can't even find peace in my own home? The dream feels too big for me now. Maybe it always was. Lily felt a pang of sympathy so strong it was almost physical. It wasn't just external forces. It was also his internal battle, his failing health, his weariness that had kept the dream locked away. He hadn't abandoned it. He had simply been unable to bring it to life. He had protected it in the secret compartment, perhaps hoping that someday someone would find it. This revelation transformed Lily's understanding of Elvis. He wasn't just a rock star who had a tragic end. He was a complex individual, trapped by his own success, yet holding on to a beautiful, selfless dream. He was a man who yearned for a different kind of legacy, one built on compassion and peace. Not just fame. The unexpected nature of the discovery deepened. It wasn't just that the contents were surprising. It was that they revealed an entirely unexpected side of Elvis, a side that contradicted the public narrative in a profound way. The image of the king, often associated with excess and a somewhat self-destructive path, was now layered with this deeply human, profoundly caring individual who dreamed of a haven for vulnerable children. Lily began to realize the weight of what she had found. This wasn't just a historical curiosity, it was a responsibility. These were unfulfilled dreams, a legacy that had been buried. She thought about his last journal entry. "I hope someone someday understands." Lily understood, and understanding brought with it a compelling urge to do something. What? She wasn't sure yet. But she knew she couldn't just put the journal and blueprints back in the secret compartment and forget about them. That wouldn't be honoring his hope. That wouldn't be understanding. The discovery had awakened something in her too. A sense of purpose, a connection to a man she'd only known through documentaries and old records, but who now felt remarkably real, remarkably close. The desk was no longer just a dusty inheritance. It was a profound testament to an unfulfilled dream and a challenge to her own generation. The weight of the secret grew heavier with each passing day. Lily found herself constantly thinking about Havenwood, about Elvis's quiet struggle, and about the sheer potential of the dream. She knew she couldn't keep it to herself much longer. She needed to talk to someone who would understand, someone who could help her process this incredible discovery. Her first thought was her best friend, Maya. Maya was smart, grounded, and fiercely loyal. Or would she just think Lily was obsessing over a dead celebrity's weird hobby? This felt too sacred, too personal to risk a casual dismissal. Then she thought of Great-Aunt Evelyn. Evelyn wasn't May, who had passed, but she was her younger sister and had also grown up in the same area. Evelyn was in her late 80s, sharp as a tack, and always had the best stories about the family's early days, long before Elvis became the king. She was the family historian, the keeper of memories. And she had always spoken of Elvis with a quiet affection separate from the public frenzy. Lily called Evelyn, heart pounding. "Aunt Evelyn, it's Lily. Lilybug. Haven't heard from you in a while, sweetie. How's that desk May left you settling in?" Evelyn's voice was warm, comforting. "Actually, Aunt Evelyn, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. It's complicated. Can I come visit you?" Aunt Evelyn lived in a small, neat house filled with antiques and the scent of baking bread. When Lily arrived, she sat her down with a glass of sweet tea and a plate of homemade cookies. "All right, spit it out, dear," Evelyn said, her eyes twinkling. "You look like you've seen a ghost, or maybe a secret compartment." Lily's eyes widened. "You knew?" Evelyn chuckled, a soft, knowing sound. Relief washed over Lily. Evelyn knew. This was the right person. Slowly, carefully, Lily began to tell the story. She pulled out the journal, the blueprints, and the photograph, laying them on Evelyn's worn kitchen table. She showed her the careful handwriting, the detailed designs, the notes about children and healing. She read aloud some of the most poignant entries, particularly the ones about his mother, the pressure of fame, and his longing for peace. Evelyn listened in silence, her eyes fixed on the documents, her expression shifting from curiosity to deep emotion. When Lily finished, tears were streaming down Evelyn's wrinkled cheeks. "My goodness," Evelyn whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "My goodness, Havenwood. He truly never let go of that, did he?" "You knew about Havenwood?" Lily asked, astonished. Evelyn nodded, wiping her eyes with a handkerchief. "He'd talk about a place for kids, a place where they could be safe, where they could learn about themselves, not just about numbers and facts. He called it his dream farm. He always wanted to give back, Lily. Always, more than anyone ever knew." "The journal says Colonel Parker was a problem," Lily said. "Oh, that man," Evelyn said, shaking her head. "Parker saw Elvis as a cash cow. Nothing more. He controlled every aspect of his life, His money, his Tom May, because it was too precious to him to let it be ruined," Evelyn said, her voice filled with understanding. "Couldn't risk Parker taking it over, or the media turning it into a spectacle. He kept it safe, hidden, because it was pure. It was the last pure dream he had." Lily felt a profound sense of connection, not just to Elvis, but to her family's history, to the quiet, dignified truth that lay beneath the surface of fame. Evelyn's words validated everything she had felt. "Aunt Evelyn," Lily said, her voice gaining strength, "he wrote in the last entry, 'I hope someone someday understands.' I think he meant it. I think he wanted someone to find this." Evelyn reached across the table and took Lily's hand. "He trusted you, Lilybug. Or rather, he trusted May to trust you. That desk was always meant to find its way to someone who would appreciate what it held." What he held? The practical challenges, resurfacing. It's been 40 years. The land was sold. It's just a dream now, Evelyn squeezed her hand. A dream is never just a dream, Lily, especially not one as strong and as good as this. It's a seed, and sometimes it just takes the right person at the right time to plant it. What do you feel, Lilybug? Lily looked at the blueprints, at the journal, at the faded photograph of the empty field. She felt a fire ignite within her, a sense of purpose she hadn't known was missing until now. I feel like I need to do something like this. Can't just stay a secret anymore. Evelyn smiled. A knowing, gentle smile. Then you know what you need to do, and whatever that is, I'll help you. The shared secret had transformed from a burden into a powerful call to action. Lily now had an ally, a link to the past, and a clear sense of direction. The journey to honor Elvis's hidden dream was just beginning, and she felt ready. With Aunt Evelyn's understanding and quiet encouragement, Lily felt a profound shift in herself. The initial shock and awe of the discovery had settled into a steady resolve. Elvis Presley was no longer just a distant relative, a cultural icon or a name in a history book. He was a man with a deeply compassionate heart and an unfulfilled dream. A dream that now, in a strange twist of fate, felt like her own. Lily found herself spending less time on social media and more time researching. She devoured books about philanthropy, non-profit organizations, and child development. She studied the specific needs of children from challenging backgrounds, understanding the very real necessity for places like Havenwood. The idealism in Elvis's notes, once seeming almost naive, now struck her as profoundly achievable. She started sketching. Not the architectural precision of Elvis's blueprints, but her own interpretations, her own ideas inspired by his vision. She drew children, laughing in sunlit gardens, making music in the music meadow, absorbed in books, in the Story Tree Library. She imagined what a modern Havenwood might look like while still honoring the timeless spirit of Elvis's original concept. Her parents noticed the change. Lily, usually prone to teenage moodiness and procrastination, was suddenly focused, driven. She talked less about college applications and more about community service, about the importance of giving back. They were surprised, but also quietly pleased. They didn't know the full story yet, but they saw a new spark in their daughter. One evening, as Lily sat at the very desk, meticulously organizing her research notes, she felt a profound connection to Elvis. She imagined him sitting in this same spot, his brow furrowed in concentration, his heart filled with hope for Havenwood. It wasn't just his dream anymore. It was a shared legacy. She found herself talking to the desk, whispering her thoughts, her plans. "Don't worry, Elvis," she'd murmur, tracing the faded lines of the blueprints. "Your dream won't be forgotten." Not now, Aunt Evelyn became her sounding board. Lily would visit her every few days, sharing her progress, her new ideas, her challenges. Evelyn listened patiently, offering quiet wisdom and anecdotes about Elvis that brought his character even more to life. He had a tenderness about him, Lily. Evelyn shared one afternoon stirring sugar into her tea. A soft heart. People saw the performer, the rebel, but underneath he was just a country boy who loved his mama and wanted to do good. In a world, he just got caught in the machine. The land Elvis had bought was likely in private hands now. Funding such a project would be enormous. It felt overwhelming. Even if it's just for me, because if you stop dreaming, you stop living. Those words gave Lily strength. She couldn't build Havenwood overnight, but she could take the first step. She could plant a seed. Her first concrete idea was to create a presentation. Comprehensive overview of the Havenwood project, featuring Elvis's own words, the original blueprints, and her own modern interpretations. She wanted to tell the story of the desk, the secret compartment, and the unexpected dream it held. She believed that if people truly understood the heart behind the project, they would want to help. She worked tirelessly, spending late nights at the desk fueled by a newfound passion. She scanned the journal pages and blueprints. Creating digital copies, she compiled quotes, anecdotes from Aunt Evelyn, and her own research into a compelling narrative. It was a fusion of history design and a powerful human story. The unexpected wasn't just the contents of the desk, it was the ripple effect it had. It had awakened a dormant dream in a forgotten compartment, and in doing so, it had awakened a purpose within Lily herself. She felt a connection to her family, to history, and to something far greater than herself. The desk, once a symbol of an unwanted inheritance, was now a beacon guiding her toward a future she never knew she wanted. She knew she would eventually have to talk to her parents, maybe even larger family members who were involved in the Presley estate. It was a big step, one that felt intimidating. But Elvis's dream had been hidden for too long. It was time for a forgotten legacy to awaken. Lily, armed with the power of a secret revealed and a heart full of purpose, was ready to share it with the world. The day Lily decided to share the secret of Havenwood was charged with a nervous energy. She had carefully prepared her presentation, a mix of digital slides matching the scanned documents and her own earnest narrative, her audience for this first reveal. Her parents. She sat them down in the living room, the very room where the desk now proudly stood, cleaned and gleaming. The desk itself seemed to exude a quiet authority, a silent witness to the monumental secret Lily was about to unveil. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice a little shaky but firm. "I need to tell you something. It's about Elvis's desk." They had seen her recent obsession, but assumed it was a phase. "Okay, sweetie," her mom said gently. "What about it?" Lily took a deep breath. "It has a secret compartment." It eyed their attention. She then recounted the story of finding the hidden latch, the click, the reveal. She described the worn journal, the blueprints, the faded photograph. As she spoke, she could see their expressions shift from mild curiosity to genuine intrigue. Then came the reveal of the contents. She projected the scanned image at the first page of the journal. This is Elvis's handwriting. Not about music or fame. It's about something else entirely. She read excerpts from the journal, his longing for quiet, his struggles with fame, his deep love for his mother, and most importantly, his vision for the Havenwood project. As she read, her voice grew stronger, imbued with the emotion of Elvis's own words. She showed them the photograph of the empty land, then the detailed blueprints of the children's sanctuary, the welcome lodge, the art nook, the music meadow, the story tree library. She talked about the notes in the margins, the philosophy behind each space. Every child deserves their own space. Creativity is the purest form of hope. Every heart has a rhythm. Her parents sat in stunned silence, their initial skepticism completely gone. Her father, usually stoic, had a surprised, almost emotional look on his face. Her mother's eyes were glistening. "He kept this hidden for his whole life," Lily explained, her voice thick with emotion. "Because he was afraid it would be exploited or dismissed. He loved this dream, Mom, Dad. He bought the land for it. He designed every single detail. He wanted to build a place where kids could heal, could find themselves, could find their own song." She then explained how Aunt Evelyn had corroborated parts of the story, how Elvis had spoken of a dream farm in his youth. She spoke of her own research, how there was no public record of Havenwood, how thoroughly it had been kept secret. "And his last entry," Lily said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "He wrote, 'I hope someone someday understands.' I think he meant me. I think he wanted this to be found." Silence hung in the air. Finally, her mother reached out. "And Tuakul, so what are you saying, honey? What do you want to do with this?" Lily took a deep breath. This was the moment. "I want to try and make it happen, not all of it, maybe not right away, but I want to honor his dream. I want to tell his story. I want to find a way to bring Havenwood, or at least the spirit of Havenwood, to life." She presented her ideas. "I think the first step is to tell the story to the right people. Maybe a foundation or the official Elvis Presley Charitable Foundation. It's a powerful story, a side of him no one knows." She explained her research into nonprofits, her ideas for fundraising for identifying children who could benefit. Her parents looked at each other. They saw the passion in her eyes, the newfound purpose that radiated from her. This wasn't a fleeting teenage fancy. This was real. "Lily," her father began, "this is a massive undertaking. It'll take a lot of work, a lot of dedication." "I know," Lily said, her voice unwavering, "and I'm ready. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. Like it's not just his dream anymore, it's mine too." Her mother smiled through her tears. "Then we'll help you. We'll help you in any way we can." Her father nodded, a rare, proud smile spreading across his face. "If anyone can bring this to life, it's you, kiddo, and you've got a heck of a story to tell, an unexpected one." The first step was taken. The secret compartment, the unexpected contents, had not only revealed a hidden side of Elvis Presley, but had also unlocked a powerful purpose within Lily. The dream of Havenwood, dormant for decades, was finally stirring, and with it, the promise of a heartwarming legacy that would extend far beyond music. The meeting was set for a week later. Lily, accompanied by her parents and a surprisingly energetic Aunt Evelyn, found herself in a conference room at the official Elvis Presley Charitable Foundation office. The room was sleek and modern, a stark contrast to the old dusty desk that had sparked this whole journey. The foundation's director, a serious-looking woman named MS Albright, and a few board members sat across from them. They were polite, but clearly a little skeptical. They were used to people approaching them with grand, often unrealistic ideas. Leading to Elvis's legacy, Lily began her presentation. She started with the desk, the inheritance, the discovery of the secret compartment. She showed them the scanned image of the faded photograph of the land, then projected the actual astonishing blueprints of the Havenwood project. She watched as their professional masks began to crack, replaced by expressions of genuine wonder. Then she read from the journal. She let Elvis's own words, raw and vulnerable, fill the room. His yearning for peace, his struggle with fame, his profound, quiet dream for children who needed a safe place to grow and heal. She shared his frustration with the machine, and Colonel Parker, explaining why the dream had remained hidden. This wasn't just a fleeting idea, Lily concluded, her voice steady and clear. This was his life's passion, nurtured in secret for decades. He even bought the land for it. He wanted a place where every child could find their song, and in his last entry, he hoped someone would understand. She looked directly at MS. "I believe he was hoping this dream would one day come to light, and that's what I want to help do. I want to plant the seed of Havenwood." Silence. The air was thick with the weight of the story. MS Albright, usually composed, dabbed at her eyes. "Lily," she said, her voice soft, "in all my years with the Foundation, I have never heard anything like this. This changes everything we thought we knew about Elvis Presley's personal legacy. This project, Havenwood, it's remarkable, so detailed, so compassionate, and completely unknown. That's why it's so powerful," Aunt Evelyn chimed in, her voice surprisingly strong for her age. It wasn't for the cameras. It was from his heart. After an hour of intense discussion, questions, and Lily's passionate answers, MS Albright leaned forward. "Lily, this is beyond anything we could have anticipated. A true, hidden side of Elvis. We need time to process, to discuss it with the estate, to..." The Foundation, after thorough verification, confirmed the authenticity of the journal and blueprints. They were astounded by the discovery. The story of the Havenwood project began to circulate quietly among the inner circles of the Presley estate and a few trusted philanthropists. Lily became an unofficial ambassador for the dream. She worked with the Foundation, helping to draft proposals, researched potential land acquisitions, as Elvis's original plot was no longer feasible, and conceptualize a modern interpretation of Havenwood that remained true to Elvis's original spirit. She continued her studies now with a clear focus on child development and non-profit management. Her future, once hazy, now shone with a clear purpose. The journey to fully realize Havenwood would be long, undoubtedly, requiring significant resources and years of dedication. It wouldn't happen overnight, but the seed had been planted. A dedicated fund, the Havenwood Project Fund, was established under the umbrella of the Elvis Presley Charitable Foundation, fueled by initial significant donations from the estate and private benefactors deeply touched by the story. The desk now held a place of honor in Lily's room, no longer just a dusty antique. It was a symbol of hidden dreams, of quiet generosity, and of the unexpected power of discovery. It was a tangible link to a side of Elvis Presley that the world had never known, a side that was now finally beginning to emerge. One sunny afternoon, Lily sat at the desk sketching new ideas for a solar-powered music studio for Havenwood. She glanced at the secret compartment, still easily accessible, but no longer holding its burden alone. The story was out. The dream was alive. She smiled. Elvis's unexpected legacy wasn't just in his music, but in the quiet, profound compassion he held in his heart. A compassion that was now, thanks to a forgotten desk and a curious young woman, finally beginning to resonate, promising a heartwarming future for countless children. And Lily, guided by a dream that had found its way across decades, knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. King's true greatest gift was finally making its way into the world.